a disclaimer, whatever is said and shared in this session is all our personal views for me as well as for our guest speakers. It is nothing relates to our organization for which we work. Agenda for today, it's just an introduction, which I just now explained, and then we have today's topic is about the LCS to PPAC migration. And topic of the day is today we'll talk about how to write a good design document, what are the key attributes and considerations you have, and then we have a lot of questions submitted by you all of you. So we'll try to pick up those questions, and based on the timing, we'll try to answer them. And we'll give the opportunity to you as well to ask any question if you want. But before we start, right? So I have one good announcement to make, and it is for for all the finance consultant. So what's coming exciting, right? So I'm planning next month, instead of holding this regular 1 hour session, we will do a 4 hour deep dive on Dynamics 365 Finance posting profiles. So we spend a lot of time in discussing about AI and everything nowadays, but as a finance consultant, all of you can relate that the posting profile is something which is very critical, right? And it has been asked in every interview. And I mean, if you do not know about the posting profile, I think it is very difficult for you to be a good finance consultant, right? So I decided that we will talk purely posting profile for all the modules in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. And that is going to take, in my opinion, 4 hours of time. So, and we will do the hands-on. We will talk about the real examples, consulting focused, and it's of course 100% free. And it will be on 1st of November. There is a QR code. You can start registering now, but I will be also making the announcement about this thing. So that would be our next month, kind of a short boot camp for 4 hours. So if you, your friends are interested in such topic, I strongly recommend you to register for that, and maybe share with your friends to attend this thing. About me, I think I'll skip this part. And the recap is, yeah, the last time we talked about the security, fundamentals of security. Andre was here, who shared that how as a consultant you should know about the basics of the security, and the recording is now available on the YouTube. So you can always go and look back for that session. Here come a few resources which we share. Everything is shared on the GitHub or the YouTube. So if you are looking for any of these resources, please feel free to use them. With that, we have Rakesh today. Again, Rakesh was there in one of the previous session as well. And in that, we kind of got a sense that we need to talk about this LCS to PPAC migration. And Rakesh was very kind enough to agree on that this month. So today we are going to talk about the PPAC migration, LCS migration to the PPAC. And Rakesh is here, who is our expert guest today. Everyone knows about the Rakesh. Most of the people who are working in this space, he's the MVP. He's the one of the top voice in the community. He loves to share the knowledge and experience which he has. He comes with 20 plus years of experience in this space. So I think no one better than him can help us in understanding this entire migration which is going to happen in this space. So Rakesh, over to you. Maybe you can start sharing your screen and then talk about this topic.
Yeah, sure, Saurabh. So thank you very much, Saurabh, for setting up a context and setting up a floor for everyone, all of us. So today's session, as the topic suggests, we are going to talk about more on the LCS to PPAC journey. But before we get into that, I would like to share my screen where we will just quickly go through understanding the pulse of our audience. Although this today's topic is more on the technology side of the story, but I would highly encourage those who are aspiring towards to become a technical architect or a solution architect, or for that matter, the functional consultant, those who join today, it is very essential going forward for them to understand this topic that we are going to discuss. Although the topic name is focusing on LCS to PPAC, but it is more or less going to cover most of the recent updates from Microsoft, especially on the FNO side. And we will also try to see where this journey is heading towards from a platform unification perspective, from an admin experience perspective, as well as your end users or end customers, understanding everything perspective, right? So we'll see in action. So let me share my screen. I don't have much slide today because I wanted to have discussion mainly on the practicality aspect, to be honest with you. And because today's topic, even though we try to cover just, the presentation slide, having a snapshots, probably that will not help you too much, to understand the context for today's topic. So before we begin our session, I have just enabled the poll for everyone. So those who are having laptops, desktops, or mobile phone, you can either sign the QR code or scan the QR code and signing into the slido.com, use this code. The idea is to understand through this poll to identify the pulse that in your FNO project or FNO implementation, whether it's a greenfield or whether it's rollouts or whether it's a recovery project from other partners, what are the options or which options that are you using? Are you still sticking to LCS or you already moved to PPAC? Any specific things that you would like to understand from an architectural perspective, from a technology perspective, as well as from a customer or end user understanding or licensing perspective. Okay, so that is what the three core aspects that I'm going to cover today, and more on the practicality aspect. I'll take a pause and we'll wait for you to signing into slider.com. Maybe we'll spend 2 or 3 minutes more because we need to cover a lot in today's topic. And as there is a technology aspect, practicality aspect, but obvious few challenges will be always there, the latency, the internet, and everything. If anyone is facing any issue to join the Slido, do let me know in the chat, or you can also speak up if that's the case. All good? I can see only 7 participants have joined. Perfect. Okay. So I can see 88% of our participants are saying they are still using LCS. And 13% are saying they are started using the PPAC, which is good in terms of number, but I would be more happy if the number is maybe flipped 88% PPAC and 13% LCS. We'll spend 2 minutes more and then we'll switch the gear and we'll start the presentation.
Yeah, and also this is another thing is, Rakesh, possibly a lot of people are they must be using the PPAC in some shape and form, but it just I think that is why we are having this session, that to make
That's
them
correct.
aware that what else you are, I mean, for what else you are using, because there are a lot of dependencies you have nowadays on PPAC, like without having the PPAC, you can't even have, let's say, any Copilot related
That's correct.
feature or any these dataverse add-ins which are there, like invoice capture or recruitment add-in or the inventory visibility or anything you have right now. Without the PPAC, it's not possible, right? So a lot
That's
of
correct.
people might be missing that context also. So maybe that will be end of the session. It will be clear for them.
Yeah, I completely align with you, Saurabh. Okay, I think we can take a pause now. So I can see that close to 90% people are still using the LCS and 10% here and there, maybe in the context of FNO or maybe in the context of the Power Apps or Power Automate and other family product of Power Platform. They might be using the PPAC. Okay. So the idea is to understand the pulse. Okay. So when I was preparing the deck for today's session, it took me a way back when I started my journey almost back in November 2005, especially with ERP, that is the Dynamic 365. And those days, I distinctly remember where I used to write a lot of code in Acceptor 3.0. Pretty much everything was running on locally. I used to open any classes that has been shipped by Microsoft because during those days, Microsoft just took that product from DamGuard and a lot many things were happening in Acceptor 3.0. And then the journey started 4.0, 2009 to 2012 R1, R2, that is RTM, R2 and R3 version. And then nowadays we are seeing it's a complete true SaaS ERP solution running in the cloud. And then on top of that, now we have a bunch of AI features, as Saurabh mentioned just now. So in terms of the understanding of that, I, as a person, learn a lot, in that journey, not as a technical guy, but also, the functional aspect, also how the transitioning happening from a developer perspective, from an admin perspective, as well as from a customer end user perspective, right? And that is where that journey is still continuing. So if you look at the approach from Microsoft in this world of PPAC, is nothing but all of a sudden somebody has just pressed the button and then we just move from LCS to PPAC, right? It's not like that. It is a crawl, walk, and run. So that these are the three stages that Microsoft took, and it started maybe close to 3 years back. Those who are actually working closely in the admin area and maybe in the area of the development probably would have seen then when you used to deploy any sort of environment through LCS, whether it's a developer VM or whether it's a sandbox VM. Earlier, used to work, standalone without having any connection with Dataverse during those days, and that's where the Dataverse also the new name came up. Earlier, it was a common data model and so on and so forth. But then one stage reached to the level of the discussion within the product team and within the community team, where all low code platform started taking the
ನಾನು
actions
ನೋಡಿಲ್ಲ.
and the traction to it,
ರಿವ್ಯೂ
and
ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ
it was
ಕೇಳ್ದೆ
need
ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
of the hour for
ಸಿನಿಮಾಗೆ
the
ಹಾಕಿರ್ತಾರೆ.
users.
Hey, I think someone is to mute yourself. Okay, go ahead, Rakesh.
Yeah. And at the same time, the Power Platform took the traction as a low code, no code platform, and it actually increases the return on investment from an end user perspective. That is where the entire Dynamics CRM, which is nowadays customer engagement app, started moving to the Power Platform family product as a first citizen. However, the ERP piece was running in silo, right? So that's where you probably would have noticed initially, if required, then only we used to deploy the Dataverse as a connection to the FNO database through LCS. Later on, after a year or so, it was mandatory for everyone, those who are deploying any VM, whether it's CHE, that is a cloud hosted environment, or whether it's the sandbox environment, that is to be automatically by default the Dataverse gets deployed, right? And then now we are here where we can see all the component of lifecycle services, whether it's environment management, traceability of each and every activity that we used to see in the LCS, and all this tooling experience, right, that we have, whether it's a SQL connection to be checked, the SQL queries, insights, what happening, as well as the bottleneck that we used to see while running some performance challenges and everything. That all this tooling experience started merging day by day, slowly. That is crawl, walk, and run approach, right, to the Power Platform Admin Center. And then this finance and operation app is no more as a standalone ERP suite. It is now become a first party citizen in the Dynamic 365 app that are running on Dataverse. So you can say that Dataverse is kind of an operating system for finance and operation app nowadays, and finance and operation app as app running on the Dataverse, whether it's a finance, whether it's a supply chain, whether it's a commerce, or whether it's HR. We will see in action as we start doing the practicality aspect. But in this pictorial view, what I'm just trying to highlight to you that everything is managing through the Power Platform Admin Center. And the way we used to look at the architecture aspect of the finance and operation app, we used to always in architecture group, we always call it this kind of a monolithic architecture pattern that FNO has. Now this monolithic has been divided into small apps that you can see in the Power Platform Admin Center soon. On the left hand side, I just try to depict the view of the LCS, which is our the main hub. It used to be a main hub for finance and operation app from an environment perspective, and nowadays we have a PPAC. We'll start with section 1. I will just quickly run through these 2-3 slides, and then we'll come back to the demo. Initially, I thought, when I was preparing a deck, I thought I'll just go back slide by slide and then switch the gear for the demo. Then I realized probably those who are coming from a non-technical background might lose the context what I'm talking about here. So I thought I'll just quickly run through the PPT, and then the way I structured the PPT for section 1, section 2, and section 3. We will see that everything in action, as a practicality aspect. So as a section 1, what we talked about is the administrator side and the identity overall. What it means that how the admin guy is going to manage the new world of PPAC for finance and operation apps, whether it's a finance, supply chain, commerce, or HR for that matter, and how this entire, the identity is going to be overall if someone is moving the learning aspect of LCS to the PPAC. But having said so, as Saurabh mentioned earlier, right, the co-pilot was one of the aspects where we are seeing everything is moving to PPAC, and it was important for all of us as a consultant, whether it's a technical, functional, or architect, to learn that aspect. But having said so, probably you would have noticed earlier also, right? When you used to use the finance and operation app in production or maybe test, the licensing aspect was divided predominantly into 3 segments, right? One was the full user licenses for finance and operation app. Second one was the activity-based licenses, and third one was, the team member licenses. What it means, the full user means I as a persona in finance area can do whatever I want to do. I can have all the access, like I can create information in the FNO, whether it's a chart of account, whether it's account categories, or whether it's posting of any journals, everything I can do that, right? That's what the full user license, namification that probably we used to use. Then there was the second segment was the activity-based license, where we need to identify with the help of the understanding with the customer saying that, look, these are the bunch of personas who would require activity-based license because they are going to create some sort of invoices. They are going to post some sort of invoices or journals, so on. That is where the activity-based license is attacked. And the team members is a major chunk of people in the organization where they used to do a lightweight add, update, and delete sort of activity, like modifying something, right? However, this model that has been completely, I would say, the paradigm shift from the licenses, what we used to have, which I would call it as the name or static based licenses, to the more simplification, but yet complex in understanding, we called as capacity based license model. I would highly encourage everyone to go back and check this link where Microsoft has classified everything what they want to start. The journey we started with the 1st of September. Now it is going to be continue for the next year as well. But the idea in this capacity-based licensing model, where when you sign up for any licenses for finance and operation app, if you remember those who are coming from earlier days of the finance and operation, we used to have a 20 bare minimum licenses, right? Now we have the capacity-based model where when you sign up for the licenses for your operations, you will get 60 gigabyte, the space. That is what the capacity of the database capacity that you will get at a tenant level, not at a user, at a tenant level, along with the 10 gigabyte for Dataverse capacity, right? I'll come to that point, why Dataverse capacity is required and what are the things are would require in today's world of, this PPAC understanding. And then on top of that, number of users when you try to opt, then every user will get 4 gigabyte for finance and operation app database capacity plus 250 megabyte dataverse per the license user capacity. If I just switch the information. If I open the October 2025 license guide, in this licensing guide, probably you would see this. And this is one of my favorite table here. We can navigate to page number 44, where you would see how this capacity-based licenses are included for the referential app that we are going to use. Like for a simplicity and understanding purpose, I'm going to use finance and supply chain, but it is equally important for project ops and commerce as well. Like you can see here the total database capacity at a tenant level, and for operations, which is nothing but your finance and operation app for a 60 gigabyte, followed by 4 gigabyte for the user licenses. Okay, you can read the more details here, what has been captured in the capacity based report in finance and operation app. But the idea is to give you the glimpse that the the movement of the old model of the licensing for finance and operation app is moving to the capacity. Everything is now driven by the database capacity base. Okay. So we will talk about in detail, and we will also see the practicality aspect. Okay. Now we'll also talk about the section, the second section, where I'm going to give you a depth and the breadth of the provisioning and the management of the entire environment. Okay, wherein you can go back and check that if I procure X number of licenses for Y number of users, what kind of a capacity that I have entitled to get, and what I can do if I get this sort of entitlement, right? So I'll just depict two scenarios as we go along with the journey of this practicality, so that you can correlate based on your, the current project implementation. And in the section 3, we will talk about the unified developer experience. So those who are coming from development background probably would know that whenever there is need for a development, either we used to go for the virtual machine, which is running on a big server, or a local good amount of having hardware on the laptop or desktop, or we used to go for the CHE, which is a cloud hosted environment, right? And then we used to tag to the Azure subscription as a pay as you go model, based on the agreement with the customer or partner, and then everything is to be tracked and everything is managed. But I have seen in many scenarios the sizing of the environment, whether it's D series or whether it's a busted series of the environments, it is to cost a lot to the customer, and that is where the capacity based model came into picture, where it is up to customer how they want to proceed further and all. Okay, so I'll just quickly switch the gear and then we'll move to the demo. Okay, I'll start with the first understanding of the LCS, because without having the understanding of the LCS, I believe it is not to start with the Power Platform PPAC centers. So a minute, I'll just. Okay, so this is my LCS environment. Just for our demo purpose, I logged in with my personal account. I do have enough licenses. I'll show you where to go and check the licenses as well. And I do already created an implementation project. Why I have created an implement project? Because those who are coming from implementation background probably would know, right? When we sign up a contract with a Microsoft, but obvious customer and Microsoft, then you used to get lot many environments over it. One is the production environment. Once we through with the UAT process and everything is done and dusted, and by default you used to get the one sandbox environment for your testing purpose. Prior to that, we used to get one dev or build machine as well. But in the recent past days, we used to get only one production machine and one sandbox machine. That's what pretty much the standard things. And when I go into the enter of the environment, I don't have any environment for against the LCS, so I can't show you. But as long as you used to go in the environment, you used to track everything that you want to record. And as far as the development is concerned, we used to go back to this cloud hosted environment. I used to deploy the Azure connector, and then Azure connector would have the associated Azure ID and key and all the certificates. And then used to deploy the new environments. And that environment was nothing but VSD image running from the marketplace of Azure. And then that VM is having all sort of, metadata, including the Windows, their UIS, which is your AOS, your entire package directory, as well as the local SQL DB as well, right? And then you used to compile the code, you used to write a code, all these things, and then you have to start and stop the VM, so on and so forth, right? Now in this new journey, everything is moving to PPAC, as we have learned from this power client, right? So This is the Maker portal. You can navigate from Maker portal to Admin Center, or you can directly log in by typing admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com. And whatever the environments that you have, you will see that in my case, I do have my default environment, which is predominantly maintained and managed by Microsoft. There is absolutely no need for to use this environment, and I would highly recommend for everyone not to deploy any solutions, anything to default environment, because this is an environment reserved for Microsoft for their internal thing. And another point is this environment as a default environment is not managed, not used for any backup. So if you are doing something, okay, everything is going to last. There is no guarantee. So in my case, I have two environments deployed. One is for UDE. So I deploy this environment especially for our presentation or demo purpose. And this is an environment that I typically use for my any learning purposes or any for co-pilot stuff. Everything is bundled together. Okay. When you navigate to the admin center, this is landing page, especially for those who are not seeing or not saw this particular page or the landing page of admin center earlier. Up until last month, it was the two experiences that you used to see, but that experience is now gone. Now you see this new entire experience where everything is going to be bundled together as a one platform for admin, for developer, and for customers from a licensing perspective. Okay. If you just hover your icon here, bunch of options here for today's discussion. I will just stick to myself for licensing and the managing app. However, you can explore the other stuff like support. If you want to raise any support tickets, this is a hub for you to create a support tickets and all. Okay, so I'll just start with the managed first, and then slowly and gradually I'll move on to the licensing aspect, and we will see how that licensing aspect look like. What I just talked about, the capacity-based licenses in correlation with October 2025 Dynamic 365 licensing guide. So if you just navigate to the manage, the name itself is indicating, right? So you need to manage the environments, right? So the way you used to manage the or those folks are coming from Power Platform family understanding like CRM or Power Apps, probably they are having a better understanding about this, how these environments are managing within the Power Platform Admin Center, but especially for the finance and operation app consultant, functional or technical, for them, maybe this is a new experience for them, right? So when we need any environments, so if you look at the if you look at the cycle of implementation, we start the cycle of implementation with blueprinting, then design and the development phase, and then we enter into testing phase, and then we go into prepare and the deployment phase, which is the production, right? And throughout this journey, probably would have noticed, or you can also visualize that we need to have the environment, right? So when you enter into the blueprinting phase, we need at least one plain vanilla implementation where we can see the contours of database, all bunch of USMF and USSR config data, so that we can showcase the product capability to the business user, right? And then as we go along with the journey of the development, we used to deploy the development environment. That is what our developer folks, they try to deploy and develop the codes, and they build the pipelines and so on and so. But here in the Power Platform Admin Center, the experience, if you just try to compare with the PPAC, it's a bit change. Like you can see the bunch of options. So if I just click on the new, I'll just quickly run through, and then we'll create a one more VM for everyone once I switch the gear for licensing. Okay. So when you click on the new environment, it will pop up a new dialog for you, which is pretty much standard dialog for PPAC, that is for Power Platform, and as well as for customer engagement app, and now the first party citizen for this FNO as well. Okay. While this is loading, we'll just give a minute, or maybe a minute to just refresh the screen. Let's see if that works. Yeah, there you go. So when you click on the new, it will ask you to, first of all, validate the subject to your capacity. That is where the license comes into picture. If you don't have a license, most of the features you will not be able to see as it is. Okay, you can specify the name of that environment, and you can specify the region where you want that environment to be, deployed. In my case, my tenant is based out of India, so therefore it is showing India. If your tenant is based out other country, then the default country would be India only. If you just move ahead, you will see a bunch of other options which is a sandbox, trial, productions, developers, and trial-based subscription, right? But in the context of finance and operation app, we need to stick to the sandbox environment. Even though you're looking at the developer and you want to deploy the developer VM or developer environment for your development purposes, this is not an option for finance and operation app. We need to always stick to the sandbox environment. Okay, and then we need the data store for Dataverse as well. So I'll just quickly go ahead and specify the name of environment, and then I'll switch back to the licensing because it will take some 5-10 minutes to deploy the environment for development, and then we'll continue the journey. Okay, I'll say the AMA, ERP, and mentorship. Okay, I'll keep the region as an India default. I'll say group as a none. I'll say I want data source as a data verse to be added. This time I don't want to link to Azure because I do have a full of subscriptions and the licenses here with me. So I'll just click on next. As soon as I click on next, it is allowing me to add a security group. For demo purpose, I'll select no, but many companies would have their specific policies here. So I'll stick to no. And if you see here, we have the dynamic 360 app option available, right? In addition to the Power Apps. The moment I click on this, I can see the bunch of options here. Most of the options are grayed out because I don't have licenses for those apps. I do have license only for finance and supply chain. So it is completely a approach of templatized. I must say that when you select the finance, automatically the finance related information like whether it's a GL model, account receivable, account payable, everything will get deployed. It's not like that only the finance will get deployed. It will get deployed along with supply chain as well. So it's up to you. You can select one of them, but it will get deployed the whole app as well. Okay. And why it is required to deploy? There are two categories I mentioned, right? First, when we start the blueprinting, that time we need a sandbox environment where we need to have a demo data. Everything's pretty much running as it is, right? In those scenarios, you have to select this deploy through a template. Then what happens is when you save the next, automatically environment will get spin up and you will see the environment like this. Okay, so this is environment that I deploy. I pretty much specify the name of the environment and I do have the entire piece available over here. But as we are talking about the developer experience, in the context of developer experience, there is no need for you to select any specific app. You can just select pretty much blank and everything will get automatically deployed. I'll just show you again. I'll go back. I'll type AMA, dev, ERP. I'll say group none. Type as a sandbox. I need to add data verse. I'll say no. I'll say security group none. If you look at here, if you want to specify the unique domain name, you can always click here and specify the domain name. Otherwise, it will look like this. It will take some random domain name. So that's the reason I deploy two environments so that I can distinguish. So in this environment, I specifically highlighted that I wanted to have Innoverse FO. That is what I define here. Otherwise, you can pretty much define anything that you want to deploy and keep as it is. So for this demo purposes, I'll keep it no because I don't want to give any specific name. I left bank. I'll say again cancel. I'll go back here and say AMA dev ERP and sandbox dataverse. Next, I'll say security group none. I'll keep by default, so I don't want any specific name. Here I don't want to select no, so I'll say none and say save. Okay. The moment you click on save, what happens is it is going to create the container for you. Like here, it is start prepare. It hardly take 5 or 7 minutes. So if you just try to compare the experience of the CHE that we used to deploy through the LCS by logging into LCS over here, you can imagine the journey, right? It takes hours and hours to deploy, right? Here, it will automatically get deployed. Let me just refresh. So look, it is almost ready. So your standard template or standard information along with the capacity of database is now ready. Okay. Now, as a next step, what you need to do, you need to just go inside the app. You can see you have the organization ID, you have environment ID, and the pretty much environment URL of the CRM, but not the FNA URL. Right? That is where the next step is come because we are deploying the dev machines. Okay, keeping in mind we are not deploying any standalone sandbox sort of environment, right? So here you can go and install the app. So there are two apps that we need to be installed as a developer, right? One is the tooling experience. Let me just go back and check the platform tool. You can select one of them. You'll always see two options, but you can select one of them. First is you have to select the platform tool. What it does, this is the platform tooling experience that you get installed into the Dataverse. As I mentioned earlier also, right? Now ERP is completely moved from monolithic architecture and now it's first party citizen in Dataverse. And you can say the Dataverse as kind of operating system for finance and operation app as a ERP. So first you have to install this platform tool, which will add platform components and all sort of artifacts that were required, and then we need to provision the app. Okay. As we speak, I can see this because this is a user or maker experience that I can see. But when this PPAC journey start a year ago, this option was not there where you can deploy from UI. It has to be deployed through a CLI and all these Azure PowerShell command. I don't want to go into PowerShell now because it is pretty much standard. If this option is not working, you can use the PowerShell and all these informations are available on microsoftlearn.com or bunch of my MVP friends like Orlean and Andre for that matter, they have pretty much blogs available. You can go and follow them and follow their blog as well. Okay, so I'm going to install this. Why I'm doing that? Because it will take some time. By that time, we will cover the licensing aspect as well. So while this is installing, one thing we need to keep a note that each app that we're going to install for a developer, one is the tools, second one is the provisioning app. It has a dependency. I cannot install the provisioning app unless and until I install the tooling experience, which is required for my FNOPs to be up and running, right? So it will take few seconds to install.
Nice.
So while this is installing, if anyone has any question, maybe one or two question, I would like to address those as well. Okay, so I'll duplicate this screen. While this is installing, I'll just quickly switch the gear and we'll go back to the licensing aspect, right? That is where the capacity-based license. You can see here, you can see the Power App licensing summary here, as well as the Dynamics 365 licensing summary, how many I purchase, how many I assign, and how many are available as a trial. But you can see here, along with these Power Apps, you can also see another option called finance and operations, right? So that is where you can see all the apps that you have enabled. You can see the base license 3 out of 5, available 2 that I have enabled in my tenant for finance and supply chain. However, for others, commerce and others, I don't have anything. I don't have anything. Okay. And similarly, we can also go back and check the capacity add-ons. So there you can see the informations as a summary for finance and operation app, that how much size that I have got and what is the database size and what is the database file size. Okay, pretty much standard to understand. You can also click on this. It will navigate to the database uses, everything that you can see from admin perspective. You can also see the capacity per license. You can also see the environment. So you can see I do have 3 environments. One environment which I'm regularly using, having close to 4 GB. The one which we deploy just took the 1 GB. Okay, I'll just go back again here in finance and operation. Sorry, the data was here again. Sorry, capacity-based licensing here, right? And if you just go back to the Dataverse, here also you can see all this information that I have deployed. If I just click on this particular, the one which I deployed, the UDE one, and if you just go and look at this size, you can see the 1 GB size here. But one of the things that I would like to highlight here is the finance and operation app. in this finance and operation app, another environment that I deploy, right, as a sandbox. You can see all these database. When I click on this, you will see all the databases. You can also see a chart. I'll not go into more detail again in the interest of time. You can see everything, the database size, you can export. So this really helps for admin people to see what type of information, like one of my table, like inbox box, right? This is typically used for alerts. So you can just pass a judgment if the size is going in GB. You can try to start, trunking the informations or whatever you need. Okay. Again, I'll go back here in the capacity-based model. Then you can also go back and check the data verse. In the data verse, you can see the option called manage capacity. You might be wondering what does mean that manage capacity and why it is available in data verse. Okay, so I'll give you one example. In most of the or majority of the implementation, probably you would have seen that either we will have the customer engagement app or we will have the Power Apps, custom Power Apps deployment alongside with the implementation of finance and operation app. As the capacity-based model contain a good amount of space for finance and operation app database size as well as the dataverse, right? It's just often it happens that your colleague from CRM side and from Power App side, they might use your license capacity, what you actually entitled to get for dataverse as part of your license. So that is where you can use this manage capacity. You will see the environments that you deployed. I'll just go back my old environment, which is verse FO, and here I can specify how many GB, like if I want to specify sorry, how many GB that you would like to, in MB specifically, how many MB that you would like to specify and allocate a capacity for your needs. So they cannot, take the capacity that you entitled to get as part of your license. So this is one of the important feature to make a note of it. So that way you can manage and reserve the capacity for your own purposes. Okay. We talked about the capacity, we talked about finance and operation app licensing. We also talked about how to see the database size and everything, pretty much standard. We also see the environment informations and everything. Now we'll just go back and we'll just try to refresh earlier one, which was the platform tool, which is installing. Let's see whether it's got install or not.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Rakesh, I mean, if it is still installing, there are two questions which are there in the chat. One is
Okay.
about the package movement, that how the deployment package will move when it is about the PPAC. And another one is also very interesting, like which everyone would like to know is since it's a Microsoft is moving from LCS to PPAC, then is it going to happen automatically or anyone needs to take an action on top of it?
In the context of package.
No, one is the package movement in the PPAC, and the other one is that this entire movement when LCS is completely going away, then how that movement will happen, right? Because you might have environments and everything in LCS, and then so will that be done by Microsoft automatically, or admin needs to take certain actions?
Okay, I think I'll start with that first question. Okay, that how Microsoft is pushing PPAC to become the source of the truth. Is the migration from LCS to PPAC automatically or not? So first and foremost, if you are a journey of the implementation, as I mentioned, blueprinting to the deployment until the ready and prepare stage of go live, it is a partner or a customer responsibility to spin up the respective environments based on the capacity of license that they have procured, right? Whether it's a dev machine or whether it's a machine where they need for a testing purpose. Okay. In this new world of PPAC, the old terminology that we used to use, like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, those terminology is no more longer valid now. Everything is going to be managed as Microsoft environment. So any environment that you are deploying is going to be managed by Microsoft. When it comes to the migration, while we are talking this PPAC journey from LCS, it is only applicable as we speak for the environment of development, environment of test. You are in a position that you are run through the development and the testing, and now you are going for production. That production environment of FNO in PPAC is still in preview state. It is not GA yet. Okay. So from a PPAC, from a LCS perspective and from production environment perspective, you still need to stick to LCS until it get GA in PPAC. But from a migration perspective, there is no automation is going to be happen from LCS to PPAC. Everything needs to be managed either by customer or partner, whoever is responsible, or the admin guy. I'll move on to the second question, which is the automation of the packages. Okay, so let me just step back and give you a quick background. So those who are coming from the earlier view of X++ development, which we used to do it in CSG environment, there we used to build a model, and then we used to have a more than one model, assuming a fact ISV is there or not. And then we used to club more than one model into one package, right? And those packages to be kind of a binaries, like we used to call as the DLL files in the background, having a reference to the DLL files of the standard models, which is application suite, application foundation, and application platform, right? And then used to deploy that as a whole package with manifest files and everything via LCS. Here in PPAC, probably you would have noticed, right? In PPAC, everything is managed in two concepts. One, managed solution and mass solution. So anything and everything that you are doing in X++, using this new unified development experience, and the packages that are going to be generated is still going to generate the DLL files of the package, but it is going to be managed as a managed solution inside the Power Platform Admin Center. Okay, and then if you have any other component from other part of the world of Power Platform or Power Apps, you can also combine. That is called the combine package, and then you can deploy that package. So therefore, you also notice that Microsoft is forcing and guiding everyone that try to stick to the GitHub repository, because that is where the unified experience for development and unified experience for ALM comes into picture, right? Although all these GitHub actions and everything is not still enabled for FNO, but you can still go ahead and create a Git code repository using your ADO projects, and then pretty much the standard ALM process can be used, which is much, much smoother and smarter than the earlier RALM process. No more the binaries and no more those are required from a X++ package perspective. So I'll go back here, and now we have the first platform tool install. Now I'll go back here and I'll try to install other app which is required for dev VM to be deployed, which is nothing but the provision app. Okay, you can select one of them. Although I'm not going to create and install this because it takes a time to install. It actually takes more than an hour or so. But I just wanted to run through the experience for everyone so that you can see. Okay, so first and foremost, this provision app, because finance and operation app ERP is always different than the other C and Power Apps family product. It requires the human intervention. Therefore, you can see you need to enable the tool, you have to enable the demo data, and then you can select the respective package. I'm going to select the latest one, which is 45.2 version. I'm also going to select the agree term. The moment I select install, automatically this provision tool is going to help me and install the app here. And there is an app which is going to take more than an hour or so. Okay, and it will also run through many validation in the background. But the prerequisites for this tool is to install the Power Platform tool first. Let me just quickly refresh so that you can see. Okay, it is still installing. I don't want to wait for it because it will take maybe more than an hour or so. Instead, what I can do, I'll just go back here, another window. I'll go back to the manage my environment, and I'll open the environment that I have deployed earlier before this presentation. That is Innoverse VDE. I can just go back to the Dynamics 365 app. And you can see here the app that I was trying to highlight, the provision app, is already installed here. Okay. Once the app is installed, it means my environment is pretty much up and running. If I just go back here, you can see my finance and operation app URL is ready. I can just click on this URL. It will navigate me to the respective thing. And I can see also the demo data like USMF and USSR company, right? Now the question comes into picture, how I'm going to, extend my capability that my customer asked me to do, right? What we used to do in a CHE environment. So here there are multiple options are here. First and foremost, in CHE, everything used to happen like package directory, our own custom model, everything was inside that CHE. But in this new unified dev experience model, everything is happen locally. Locally means you can have the laptop and you can install the Visual Studio on your laptop, and everything can be installed with a setup process and these tools and all. I'll just showcase you how that to be installed. Or if that option is not allowing for some security purposes from your customer side, then you can always spin up, the lightweight VM. So that is what I exactly did. So what I did here, I just spin up one VM here, which is a VM running on my subscriptions, having the standard pretty much DS4, and it is a Windows 11 Enterprise Edition that I picked up from marketplace of Azure, which contain the Visual Studio Enterprise Edition. But in your case, if you don't have the Enterprise or Professional Edition Visual Studio license, you can certainly go for, the Windows 11 along with the Visual Studio Community Edition. You can see here Visual Studio. If you just figure out the dev box, you can see here, you can select the dev box the when you want to select. So it's up to you, but I would highly prefer that you should go for your again demo purposes or R&D purposes. You can always go for the community editions. Okay, this community edition will not require any license for you. You just need a subscription to run this VM. In my case, I use the enterprise one because I was having the enterprise Visual Studio licenses and everything. Now this is the VM of Windows 11 that I deployed, and which comes with the by default installation of Visual Studio 2022. Okay. However, there are a few certain things that we need to take into consideration when it comes to the Visual Studio. So you can just run the Visual Studio installer. I'll just quickly run through it. You can always follow the guideline that has been given on Microsoft Learn. But again, I'm just wanted to give you a quick glimpse. So first and foremost, you need a .NET development uh, SDK, which is pretty much required. Then in the individual components, you need these are the list of component. You need the SQL also. Everything is going to be installed. You can see here I do have the SQL local DB install that already comes with this Visual Studio, and you can also have the model SDK. Don't forget to select this. If you don't have option enable for model SDK, then the next journey for the Power Platform information will not be able to continue as it is. Now I already opened the Visual Studio. I'll just go back to the Visual Studio, and then you can go to the tools, and then you can go to the extension. In the extension, you can manage the extension. In the manage extension, you have to go to the marketplace. In the marketplace, you can select Power Platform. So this is where this tool needs to be installed. I already installed this tool, but what it does when you install this tools comes with the entire richness of the Power Platform Explorer, your application Explorer, as well as all these three options here, right? So you can see here, I already installed this Power Platform 2022 version because my Visual Studio is 2022. In your case, may not have 2020, or you may have 2019. You may need to select the other version. So right now, I already connected to this Innoverse IUDE environment. I can just go back and reconnect. Okay. As soon as I reconnect, it will ask me to enter the credential, and then you have to download the FinOps Assist. What it means that if you just try to compare with our CHE environment where you used to have the package local directory, when you click on this, everything is going to be downloaded locally. So if you look at the path over here is a C colon, your user, app data, Microsoft Dynamics 365, and all these list of options. Right now, I selected in a provision app this version 45.35, so it has downloaded all the package directory as it is for me, right? And if you just migrate it next one, there is no need for you to do it automatically. It will create another package directory in the background. So again, thanks to the product development team who did a fantastic job and help developer not to go back and check everything. Okay, right now I'm sticking to this, but tomorrow if we receive the next platform update, which is 46, I'll see another folder automatically landing here for me. Okay, and then pretty much the platform tool for finance and operation app or trace parser tool, everything is bundled here. I already installed the platform tool and everything that you can see here. Very similar experience that we used to have in the CHE. Okay, the only core difference that I would like to highlight before I proceed further is the deployment option. In the deployment option, you will see the online deployment and deployment from a different online environment. So in my case, if I just created a new model, okay, which is my name and dev, I can just see deploy. The moment I deploy any changes, it will automatically get deployed to the cloud environment. So there is no need for you to try to restart the IS locally or IS Express. Everything is managed, everything running in the cloud in a nutshell, right? And you as a developer can just start focusing on this. So I just created a sample class just to showcase you a pretty much standard experience. You can also see the your application explorer. But the point to be noted here is the tooling experience, right? Another sections that I want to cover, as I mentioned earlier, right? The local DB. You can also connect to the local DB. I just wanted to say yes. It will try to connect to my Dataverse, and it will also connect to the Azure SQL that is running in cloud. But why we need a local DB? Because you probably would have noticed, right? We need to have the local reference we call as XRF. So that XRF database is my local database that I probably need for thing. So if I want to connect to my SQL DB, where I need to validate the information that I have for local. So I'll say for my unit testing, and I can say I need write privileges, say request access. It will take maybe a close to 5 minutes or so, and it will automatically start populating the server name and the database. It is very similar to the just-in-time access that we used to get through LCS. Okay, and then if you have the SQL Management Studio installed, you can connect to that machine of a dev machine, and then you can play around whatever you want to do, and filter the queries and everything. That pretty much the standard thing. I'll take a pause now. I think we are already on top of the hour. But anyone has any questions or if I missed something, happy to take that up while this is loading.
Yeah, there is no question, Rakesh, but I did receive a lot of like I mean 7 8 questions, but I'm thinking like once you do this, maybe I'll finish my segment and then in 20 minutes possibly we will pick up all the questions. First we can pick up your PPAC related and then maybe
Fair point.
anything else.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Fair point. Makes sense. Makes sense. So this is how you can copy the connection string in the clipboard and you can start connecting to Inferno. So the point to be noticed, earlier you used to have a local machine, a local SQL server where you used to just connect to the local DB. But here in the context, everything is running in cloud. Okay, you just use this connection string and you can connect to the database that you are working on as a developer. Okay. I'll just minimize this window and we'll just go back and check anything that we missed or anything that we want to cover. I think we're pretty much done. I'll just cover one section which Saurabh did mention beginning of this call, that why PPAC, everything is moving, right? So I'll just go back to my environment. So be it Copilot, be it Copilot features for finance and supply chain or anything is going forward is going to be appeared as an app in this Dynamic 365. Okay. Although I haven't installed it in this environment, but if you just navigate to here in the install app, you will see those Copilot bunch of stuff. that are available here for the demo purpose. So let me just go back and along with the other stuff, the dual write and everything. So I don't spend time on that. I think I have already installed, but it failed. Look like, yeah, it's trying to do something in the one of the thing is performance planning as well. Everything is now coming under the one single umbrella.
And that is where, just to highlight, since meanwhile Rakesh is doing, like, it might look like possibly for you that it will be a technical consultant or developer's role, but for a functional consultant, this area becomes a very critical, because when you are configuring any app like a invoice capture, as I mentioned, or
Yeah,
any copilot or anything, you need to come here. You need to be aware about all these things now, that how do you install that app at least, and make sure that all the prerequisite versions and all those are installed in the PPAC, as a functional consultant, even not even like you need to be the
correct.
technical for that.
Correct. Correct. Like you can see here, the Copilot for Finance and Operation app. So this is app give you the sidecar experience in finance and operation app. Then we have a bunch of other app for Copilot in finance, and then we have sorry, then we have Copilot in supply chain. So everything is bundled together as a Dataverse app going forward. Okay. I'll take a pause. If there are any questions, happy to take that up. Otherwise, we can move on to the next segment as mentioned by you,